Amazon games are definitely shaping the future of Eternum, but in a way that sort of implies that the game is getting sunset now. I'm being a little bit dramatic there, but this is definitely a move that doesn't fill you with confidence if you are a New World enjoyer, and if you're an AP or SA player, then not only does it fill you with confidence, it sort of implies you might be quitting very soon. Let me explain what I'm talking about. So pretty soon after the dev video, in fact I think it might have been the morning after the dev video, New World Game Status posted this. Sort of innocuous enough, it looks like it's just going to be normal server merges, except there's some really massive changes here. Some of the most important changes are these. If you look at the AP servers here, AP Southeast, these are basically like Australia, New Zealand, etc. They are getting merged into El Dorado, which is US West. SA East servers are getting merged into US East. Now, this one's obviously still important, but we're going to focus mostly on AP. SA East is getting moved, but the ping I think is not going to be as bad, basically. Just physically, there's not as far to travel. I'm not saying it's good there, but we're going to mostly focus on AP. I think everything I say that applies to AP probably applies to SA East as well, though SA is South America. So they're the main things that are happening. AP Southeast and SA Southeast are getting merged into some US servers. There's some other things going on here as well. What's also happening is that the Xbox servers are getting merged into a server of that region. So the Xbox server here is getting merged into Ares. I think this is also the Xbox server. You'll be able to work that out yourself. What's interesting though is that the PlayStation servers aren't getting merged into the cross-world servers. They are all getting merged into one PlayStation server. Now, the reason I think that's probably the case is Xbox have agreed, hey, we're not that bothered anymore. You have merged servers, it's fine. Whereas PlayStation are probably like, hey, we actually still want our plays to be able to be separate from the rest of you. So still have a PlayStation server. And Amazon are like, well, we'll just have one server because there's not that many of you. Okay, fair enough. That's just console. Console doing mostly okay things. This one's a little bit sad if you're a PlayStation enjoyer and you're on one of these servers. Yikes. But let's focus on AP and Southeast America. I keep saying Southeast is because it says AP Southeast. Whatever. Now, this has created quite a lot of, you can see some community creators here, myself, Doomsday, Duke, Oreo. Baggins has done a tweet as well that we'll have a quick look at. And basically, I mean, I'm not even in that region, right? Duke's off Oreo, they are. But it's pretty obvious that a lot of people are very, very, very annoyed at this. What was sort of a little bit weird, when I went on my stream, I was like, AP's a dead region, nobody plays, how will anybody give a crap when there's nobody there? And I was just sort of messing around. But it's pretty obvious that there's a lot of AP players are going to be very annoyed at this. A lot of AP players do not want it. And yes, there might not be thousands and thousands of AP players, but there are a lot of dedicated players there who deserve, I think, to have a server in which they can play. Now, you might be wondering, why does this matter, right? This is surely good. The AP players are going to actually have people to play with if there's not that many of them. And on some level, you're kind of right, they will have players. Amazon Games did this post that sort of explained what it was, a stronger, more connected world. You're going to be able to have more people to play with. It's going to improve matchmaking, player populations across all regions. Now, the problem I have with this is that they're basically giving you poop and trying to tell you it's a cake. They're saying that it's going to be beneficial when in reality it's not. The ping is going to be upwards of like 150 to 300 maybe, depending where you are based in Australia, and the play times are not going to be in sync. For example, like peak time Australian time, depending where you are, could very easily be 4 a.m. in NA. That means wars are going to be an issue. That means the actual matchmaking is also going to be an issue. There'll be times where there are like benefits, sure, it's not like completely negative. If you wake up on a Saturday morning and you're in Australia and you log in, then NA will be pretty much in its peak time. You'll have a lot of NA players actually doing content at that point. But the reality is the ping will be literally unbearable. Now they say, and this is a bit where I'm like massive doubt, they say our teams have conducted extensive latency testing and we're confident that the player experience will remain smooth and responsive across the board. Now that is a huge doubt here, unless they've somehow managed to defy physics, which I've never seen a game do. And they're not saying they've made any changes. What they're saying is, we tested it and we think it's all right. Well, I've tested it and I don't think it's all right. And I think a lot of players will end up agreeing with me because New World is a very weird game. When you have higher ping, when you go to do a normal like left click attack, you literally attack slower than you would if you're on higher ping. It's weird. I mean, I'm guessing it makes sense for like desync and stuff like that, but that is going to be massive. Not only that, you're going to have issues with dodging and timing, and PvP would be an absolute nightmare. PvE, I think at the top end would also be a nightmare, like an M3, the raids and that kind of thing. You could, if you wanted, play like Gathering and Crafting. You could probably do an M1, but it's not great. And I think a lot of AP players and SA East will also simply just quit. And I think that's appropriate. But some people are going a little bit beyond quitting, which we'll talk about in a second. Quite a few people have also replied to this saying, hey, this is just not going to be the case, right? Now, we do need to defend Amazon Games a little bit here. They are stuck a little bit between a rock and a hard place. It is true that AP servers weren't particularly, well populated. I've been on there in the last couple of days. There's a lot of people there, right? But it's not like there's thousands and thousands of them. I remember when they were talking about merging the only 2 AP servers, and there was some people who kicked off. I've heard it was a guild, I've heard it was the PvEers, I've heard it was the PvPers. They kicked off and said, we don't want to be merged, even though I think one server had several hundred players and the other server literally had 10, 20, 30. They were not very busy at all. And then they kicked off and they didn't merge. That at the time I thought was stupid and wrong. I think they should have just merged those servers then. And now it's slightly biting them in the backside a little bit. I think what should happen, in my opinion, 1 server for AP, 1 server for SA. And what's weird is we've not actually tried that. That hasn't actually happened. We've always had multiple servers. What if they just had 1 server and that was it? It's not perfect, but I think that would have been the thing to try before this drastic version of what they're doing here. Now, I have heard rumors about how maybe like AWS, the Amazon Web Services, are having an issue with AGS and they're cancelling contracts and all this kind of stuff. The very simple reason that Amazon have probably done this is money. The amount of money that they think they're going to make from these regions versus losing by merging. They must think it's a financial benefit. They don't mention that in the post. Now, obviously, they're not going to be like, we've done this to save money. But I would have been like, hey, I would have been okay if they said, hey, we know this isn't ideal, but we think it's in the best interest of the game. And we, leave it a little bit vague. But telling people that, hey, actually, it's going to be really good for you when we know it's not, that's a bit of a problem. Let me be clear. I think Amazon should backtrack. I think they should do 1 server per region. And then if that doesn't work, fair enough. Yes, it's a financial hit, but I think it's one they should probably take on the chin and try and win those people back. Right now, they're suffering a negative PR disaster. There's people everywhere complaining. They've already taken a big hit on this, so I could see them just being like, oh, well, we've already taken the hit, let's just push it through. But I really think it would be in the best interest of them changing their mind. Even looking forward, right? I think in the future, this might hurt Lord of the Rings. If you're a player in those regions that are getting closed down, you're like, maybe I don't play this game because maybe I'm not going to be able to play it in several years' time and I don't want to waste that effort. I'm maybe being a bit dramatic. Gamers are fickle and they'll probably give up and just play it anyway. But I really do think that this is a bad idea. And before you say, oh, why you care, Jay? Well, it's just empathy and sympathy, right? There are players, and I've seen some of them have got like 5,000 hours, 10,000 hours. These people are dedicated to the game, and effectively it feels like the game is going to get taken away from them. And that sucks. You don't have to be on that server to understand that. You don't have to be on NA hoping that you're going to get players. Whatever, right? You can understand that for a lot of those people, what they want to do and what they have been doing is now getting taken away from them. And that's just a crap situation to be in. So I would like them to change their mind. Baggins has done a massive tweet talking about he would like to change their minds. I think the whole community is coming together on this one. We think it's a bad idea. There's very few people who are saying like, oh, what a great idea. Like, I understand that it's probably a little bit of a financial hit for them, but these are dedicated players who paid for the game. Feel like they are probably owed a server on some level. And Australian players and maybe other people in the region, I'm not sure, are now trying to get refunds. There's different kinds of laws that exist in different kinds of countries. I saw the acronym ACCC, and I don't really know what that is. And this apparently is under I guess that's the Australian government or whatever. And this is apparently ACL. I don't know what this is, but they have a thing that says if it can't be used under normal purposes, or it gets degraded or something like that, you're entitled to your money back. Now, I'm not advocating that you do this, but some people are claiming that, they've put in refunds and tried to get their money back. I personally wouldn't do that because I spent 5,000 hours in the game. I'd probably be like, okay, that's reasonable. But I completely get why some players are trying to do this. I mean, to be fair, if it's within your legal rights, it's within your legal rights. Who's anybody to stop that if it's within the laws of your country? I'm still hopeful that they're going to change their mind, but I completely understand and get why people will be putting in Steam refund requests. It's not because they think they didn't get their money's worth or anything like that. They're basically trying to put, as we would say in the UK, 2 fingers up at them, or maybe in America it would be flipping the bird. It's effectively just a way of rebelling and saying, we're not happy with this. And fair play to them, right? By the way, every time I see this acronym, it's just really funny, and somebody else pointed it out as well. That's not loving the bum time. I am not a lawyer, and neither am I, so don't take any legal advice from me. We're seeing negative reviews on Steam. You know, we're seeing the whole shebang. There's now a thread on our MMORPG. The information's getting spread out. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing massively OP articles and stuff like that. This could very easily be a time where it blows up in Amazon's face. And you know what's stupid? I was relatively recently kind of feeling optimistic. We just had the season 10 hints in the dev video. I was like, yo, I mean, we've gone through some struggle in the past, but the MSQ's been reworked. We've got console. Let's actually get content. Let's start feeling good about New World. And then they went and did this. And I'm just like, we're back to the old AGS, the mess up the game AGS, the don't listen to the player AGS. And it's kind of taken my hype a little bit away. Now, I'm not going to say here that the game is getting sunset, but closing regions is something you do when you are sunsetting your game. Now, I think we're far from sunsetting, but this is what I would call a sunset move. It's something that definitely does not look good. There's no two ways about it. It looks bad, and I think it is bad. All I would say is keep voicing your voice to Amazon, tweet them, put it in the Discord, politely, by the way. Don't do anything crazy. Don't be a lunatic. Be polite. People are humans after all. And hopefully we'll get one server. Hopefully they'll reconsider. And yeah, whatever. That is what it is. Peace out. Much love. Beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.